Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Jason Mackey's First 10. Your quick hit podcast to get you ready for the day, and also the one where we complain about the Pirates offense. It seems like what is just happening on repeat these days. It's not good. I just finished watching the Pirates lose to the Oakland Athletics again. They made 15 consecutive outs to end the game, 6 via strikeout. We'll get into all of that. Wrote about that at length in column form. Have been tweeting out things. It's just a lot. It's not a good place for the home team here or the visiting team on this road trip as they sort of continue to languish along. I believe they've lost 15 of 20. At some point, it has to stop, right? At some point, they have to start hitting or do something about it. Again, we'll discuss. First, I want to remind you, though, that we're sponsored, as always, by the North Shore Tavern. You don't have to be a baseball fan to love it there. The interior is wall-to-wall Pirates. Their appetizers, entrees, cocktails, and, of course, steak and seafood on a sizzling lava stone open every day. The North Shore Tavern across from PNC Park is Pittsburgh's home for steak on a stone. Offensively, well, it's not that early anymore. And I know that the front office of this team generally looks at the first 40 games as a barometer. I don't know how you look at the Pirates right now and are not wildly concerned with what they're doing. I look at Oneil Cruz's last at bat of the game, for instance. I mean, you can throw that same pitch in that same sweet sequence 100 times, and I'm not sure he hits it. And I don't think Oneil Cruz is a bad hitter, but I think he's in a bad place right now. Striking out 6 straight times to end the game is not good, obviously, right? One of those is by Jack Suwinski, another guy the Pirates have been charged with, helping develop, helping to get better, that sort of thing. I wrote in my column today where I went through a whole bunch of numbers, and I'll get into some of those, but, the overarching theme is that the Pirates need to be better on offense, number one, but two, I wrote in there, they talk a lot about development being the lifeblood of the organization. Well, it hasn't been. I used the line that they need a blood transfusion at this point, and I kind of stand by it. It's a little cheesy, but you look at somebody like Jack Suwinski. He's supposed to be getting better. They're supposed to coach him to do, again, he's in complete control of what he does at the plate. And so I'm not explaining that away. But you should have a regime, have a coaching staff, have a philosophy, have a development plan, whatever you want to call it, to help young players get better. And that's the most disturbing thing with me for the Pirates right now is you have young, talented players who I think are actively getting worse. Not by their own choice, but Jack Suwinski is a worse hitter now than he was last year at this time. Oneil Cruz is a worse hitter now than he was in 2022 at this time. Let's say it that way, because we know he was hurt last season. I don't think Cruz's issues are stemming from his fractured ankle by any stretch. I think what this stems from, and I laid this out in the column that I wrote, they're trying to do a certain thing, in which case, like, I sort of understand it. Trying to up the on-base percentage, chew through a bunch of pitches, get the opposing team starter out of there. There's a breakdown in the philosophy, though. If you're not converting at key times, if you're not coached or carrying through with an approach, be it power, be it speed, be it athleticism, whatever, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't. We're seeing that. What it results in is there being a third category where you can lead the league or come close to leading the league and left on base. And they stranded a whole bunch more against the Athletics. And so what? They stranded what? 1, 5, 7, and then nothing because they did nothing. I got a call the other day. I don't think I mentioned this on the pod, but it was from a Pirates source who's very close to the team. And it's just sort of like fit to be tied with how what he sees in the team, what we both see in the team, and sort of what's happening and how it's not coming out. And he said, and the question I was asked, and I kind of couldn't put it down, is like, what's this team's offensive identity? Now, if you look at their pitching identity, whether you like it or not, they like best stuff in zone. Right? Like they're going to throw you a whole bunch of sliders. They're going to throw you a whole bunch of, sinkers, whatever. And I don't really disagree with it. I would maybe quibble and say I'd like to see a little bit more pitching versus like we're just going to use our best. But you know what? I get it. You get the idea of what they're trying to do. The best thing that I can come up with for their offensive identity right now is just we're going to see a lot of pitches. And then, well, I guess we'll hope it works out. That's kind of where I'm at with it. I mean, you're not converting with runners in scoring position. You're not taking good situational at-bats. You're not having younger players get better. You're not finding pop in, unnatural places for it, right? Like you can have a 3-4-5 that, hey, maybe they're able to extend the lineup. 6, 7, 8 can be overly productive. Maybe you've got speed in certain pockets, which honestly, if I look on paper, they should. Oneil Cruz should be some sort of running threat. Michael A. Taylor should be some sort of running threat. Ke'Bryan Hayes isn't slow. I don't totally understand why at this point Ji-Hwan Bae is not up here, but he would be one running threat. And that's something I also posited in the column too. I just don't understand why, why in the world you wouldn't do something, just literally for the sake of change. It's like being in a slump and you're going to wear mismatched socks or something. It's as simple as that. Just do something. But they're not. You would hope if this continues through Wednesday, you've got an off day and then the homestand. What do you do with Andy Haynes? Right? I mean, that's where my head goes. It might not be where their head goes. They seem to be very adamantly on board with this whole thing, but it is just it's lousy and it's frustrating and it's in the past at this point, because I'm going to move on to another baseball related topic, and it's actually on the good news spectrum. Paul Skenes went 6 innings, his longest start as a professional, 65 pitches, I do believe, something in that range. We're very close, as I've been saying. What they want to see basically is 5 ups, even more today, and clear the 80 pitch threshold. So I think it was a bit of a bonus. He was extra pitch efficient, which is great. I know Paul was upset about that his last time out, feeling like, he was just let it get away from him. He needs to be better as a starter. Great. Well, he was. He was back to his old self. I see this as him making one more start in the minor leagues, frankly, and being up here May 10th, starting at home Friday night against the Cubs. I've been saying that. I think I put it in writing. I think I put it on Twitter, whatever. I mean, here's the thing about Skenes. He doesn't have anything to gain from facing minor league hitters. We're seeing that. We've seen that. He just doesn't belong at that level. If you would take Garrett Cole and put him down in AAA, like, he's going to dust dudes, of course. That being said, like, I understand to a degree what the Pirates are doing with Paul. And it's a problem that they're probably going to have to encounter with Jared Jones at some point too. You figure you only have so many innings for these guys. They're too important. I think Paul finished out at something close to 130 last year. You generally don't see more than a 20 inning jump, and I doubt you would with Paul. So you got about 150 innings with which to play. And they've shortened his starts and built in this really slow ramp up to get to the major leagues. So if I was forced to choose between we got to shut him down at the end or we got to have a slow ramp, I'd rather have the slow ramp, frankly. And I think that's better. Not a doctor, but better for the arm to have something like that rather than going full bore out of the gate. Anyway, I don't think there's a lot more left to do for him at AAA. I think the next start will get him over 80 pitches, should get him 5+ innings, maybe 6. And then you'll see him up here. And I don't think you're going to see him leave. I mean, he is just so special. It's going to be so much fun having him and Jared Jones in the same starting rotation. And I mean, that's why you want to see him get the offense figured out, right? Like, you're going to have a rotation with those two guys in it. Bailey Falter, and despite all of the negative stuff that has been said, has actually been pretty good. Keller becomes your number 3. Not terrible. Martin Perez has pitched well. You'd like to get Marco Gonzalez back. Fill in some ancillary part. Maybe Mike Burrows comes back from an injury. Whatever. Quinn Priester was really good his last time out. Your bullpen, I don't know. But I mean, there should be some optimism there as soon as you get them up here. Last piece I want to just highlight. I thought it was very good. You should go read it. Matt Vensel wrote about transitioning to hockey, by the way. Matt Vensel transitioned to or started talking about some of the prospects the Penguins are going to need and use this upcoming season. And I think that's an important component of what the Penguins need to do. I wrote a column about stuff Kyle Dubas can do in terms of trade. Stand by all of that. Got onto some of that on the pod yesterday. But if the Penguins are going to go anywhere, they need to get back to where they were in 15 and 16. And I think a lot of you watching and listening agree with that, where you had guys making an actual impact. Drew O'Connor, I thought, did a really good job of that late in the season, learned how to play with Sid a little bit. And I would look at him as, penciled in as a top 6 winger at this point to start. Great. But there are other prospects down there, and further down that Matt knows a heck of a lot more than I do. But the Braden Yeagers of the world, the Owen Pickerings of the world. I'd really like to see Joel Blomqvist up here. I think that would make a lot of sense. Team building wise, you're able to get young goaltending, pair him with somebody. I would not do it with Jari. I would do it bringing back Alex Nedeljkovic, but we'll see what they do. Kind of tough to read the tea leaves on how they think. But anyway, just wanted to refer everyone to that piece. Matt did an excellent job laying that out there. And bottom line, I would just like to see them rely on more young guys than they did. Sam Poulin recently signed a 2-year deal. Valtteri Puustinen, another one. So, there are certainly some options there. Matt describes it. I'll let him talk about that. I'm over my 10-minute mark, so we're gonna call it a day. Make sure you like and subscribe and get all the content from me, and as well as the rest of our Post-Gazette sports team here on our podcast and YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.